Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with Matt, Adam, Brian, Doug, and Freddie, where they discuss everything that matters in today's fire service. Now let's get to the show.
He has a thought.
You thought, you read that, and you were like, that's fine. You were reading somebody's comment, and you're like, that's fine. And I'm thinking, that's fine. I mean, it's their opinion. They can have their opinion, right? Like, oh, that's fine. I'll allow that. I'll allow their opinion.
I didn't say it like, I didn't mean it
no,
like that.
I want to watch it.
Because trust me, I want to watch it with you. Trust me, like I'm all about, having your own opinion. And you brought up that we're already getting into this. We're not going to get into it right now.
No, we're not. We're going to stop, and then we're going to get into it later because this is the third time we've started and stopped. That's why I was like, just hit record. Yeah, because we've done it. What's up, y'all? It's Matt and Brian on a Sunday afternoon, and it's a good time. It's a good time. I want to tell y'all something. For y'all that are listening, Matt is wound up into a tight spring. He is ready to be released.
I just, though, released some of the tension just now because I was trying to read a comment, and these people write comments as if they are speaking. And so it makes it difficult to read.
He ate his biscuit. It's not even like they even wrote it that way. It's that sometimes for y'all who comment, please check what you write before you press send, because it's very hard for us to interpret what you're typing because sometimes the grammar is that bad. And it's not that we don't want you to type it. We do. We love it. But sometimes we have to phonetically think it through. Like, what are they trying to say? No. Because it's hard.
You know what, Brian? Just let them be them. You know what I mean? Just you do you, boo. You know what I mean? Just make the comment. That's what we're just ecstatic that we get a comment, and not that we are getting plenty of comments now. The fact that we've started this snail mail segment, unbelievable. Love it, dude. That my favorite so far is the snail mail from last episode of us talk. People were giving Becky shit. As if Becky's even a real person. It's so great. People commenting, come on, Becky, get it together.
Jeez, Becky.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
What episode are we on? Are we
122.
I was going to say, I thought we were 122.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
We need some housekeeping.
Busy time. Yeah, I was going to say, it's busy times. Doug, Matt, and Freddie, they're all doing their things. I know this past weekend, Doug was with Nick doing their fantasy draft. I did mine last night. So just let me say this. I know a couple weeks ago I talked about my whole parlay thing and how I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Well, I won second place in my son's fantasy last year. And full transparency, my 18-year-old, soon to be 18-year-old, is the one who's teaching me about football. I didn't grow up learning it or knowing it or whatever. And so my son has been teaching me about it. So when it comes to fantasy, to win second place, like 2 years in a row, or third and then second, is pretty monumental. But I don't go by the rules like the typical fantasy rules. So every year I've picked a quarterback first round, which is totally against the fantasy rules, right? You go running back, wide receiver. But I picked Josh Allen last year. And if anybody knows anything about Josh Allen, my man set a new fantasy record with 50 points in one single game. So just mind blown. So I made a comment, and then I ended up picking ninth last night because of how I placed the year before. Long story short, everybody's going quarterback in round one in our league. Because why? Because the points game work. All of a sudden, proven systems matter. So, and we're gonna kind of get into that here in a little bit about how showing yourself going against the grain today, and some of our content will show that. Was that your stomach?
That was my belly. That was my belly speaking as a third podcaster today.
The AI tool will probably get that out of here, but I heard that stomach all the way over in North Carolina.
Sorry about that.
Love it. Well, let's do some housekeeping. Yeah. So a couple of different things we want to give a shout out to. Tom from the Burn Box. By the time the show drops, that's the reason why I wore it today. Mine came in. I've got this sweet Smoke Showing t-shirt. It's a play on Duncan. I won't say the last part of that business name, but I love it. It says firefighters run on smoke instead of America runs on Duncan on the back. It's so sweet. I'm fixing to drop a little reel about it to give a shout out to Tom because of all the shirts that we've had, probably my top 3 are going to be last month's, this month's, and then the March Irish shirt. Those are probably my top 3. I know you love that one too, the green one.
I do. I wear it all the time.
It is my favorite. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then, so go get that. Go get your FD Collectors Club. A very, very sweet. How about Tom hooking up our reveal? He's been using that as some sponsored ads. So shout out Adam for doing a good unboxing video this month. And speaking of Adam, he's away at the lake this weekend and with his family spending some much needed time on a 4-day, I think. Yeah, Unky Seasoning. I did a video today. I think I sent you the picture. It'll be on my YouTube channel. It's the Italian sausage pasta on the Blackstone. And it features the garlic and herb, the buttery rosemary, and some other sides. But I tell you what, that was amazing. I got a kid over here that he's like, Mr. Kelly, I don't like pasta too much, so I'll give it a little taste test. He took 2 bites and then filled up the whole bowl. So
Attaboy.
That's what's up.
Get your carbs in. Get your carbs.
Yeah, he plays football for the school. So I was like, yeah, you need that.
Nice.
Anything moment of silence related that you know about going on the West Coast? I don't think there's anything on the East Coast that I know of.
No.
We had a very close near miss with a fire chief who was responding to a call and got hit head on and had to be cut out of his vehicle. I think it was Friday night. I can't remember. I don't want to misspeak, but very, very close. He ended up getting discharged from the hospital. But, man, you looked at the pictures. It's a blessing he wasn't more seriously injured than that.
Isn't it amazing like how many deaths and near miss deaths come from responding to calls? Like that blows me away. You know, I mean, it's obviously dangerous driving code 3. You know, we're allowed to go 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. We're allowed to go on the wrong side of the road. So I guess it makes sense. There was just that video from, I think it was from LA County, somewhere in LA, in Los Angeles, where this guy was hauling tail, man, just hauling tail. Didn't really stop at the red light and got hit. You know, it's like, I mean, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? That's pretty stupid to just, think that we're invincible when we're driving these massive apparati, you know, but you know, when you're in there and you're just kind of cruising, you're going to the call and, you know, you're kind of thinking about whatever the call is. So, I don't know, but yeah, it's just dangerous, you know. It's
crazy, to think how many we have, but what a blessing it is that we don't have more, because I mean, just Friday, I'll just say this: on the way home, I was leaving. I heard our crews get dispatched to a call, and I was trucking along. I had the green light, and my guys came up to the intersection. They did just as they were supposed to. They came to a complete stop, and they were headed to a wreck. And it was like, I didn't even hear them. Now, I'm in my work truck, and I didn't see them nor hear them until I got into the intersection. And so, thank God our drivers are situationally aware, and emergency responders, for the most part, are situationally aware to make sure that every intersection is clear, because if not, we would have had an accident. And like I said, and I'd like to think I'm situationally aware. They were not. I guess they were at the store or whatever, so they weren't coming from the direction that I was suspected. So even me knowing that they were responding, that wasn't the area in which they should have been responding from. And so my mind was just like every other citizen at that point. I was just, situationally aware, but not heightened aware, if that makes sense. And my opinion on driving is, there's 3 different types of alerts, right? There's your mechanical siren, then you have your cue, and then like your growler, and then you have your air horn, Right. And for me, when I was driving, when we were going through heavy traffic, I was playing both. I was playing the mechanical siren, the wee woos, and then the wee, the growler. And for me, I think, and here's a call to action. Here's a good make a comment on if you agree or disagree with me. But I feel like the air horn, and this is not a common thought in my department, because I've asked, especially my newer engineers that are driving. My thought is that the air horn is
is used in order to like produce change. So like get out of my way. If somebody hears that, like I feel like they are enticed to do something. Now, if I'm coming through an intersection, I want everybody to sit still, like don't move. I've got a way through the intersection. We're good to go. You shouldn't be blaring the air horn. So I asked my new engineers, I go, hey, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about my thought? And I tell them exactly what I just told you. And they're like, no, I just want to make as much noise as possible. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that, but that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is like the air horn is if you want somebody to move out of your way, which sometimes that's the case, right? Somebody doesn't pull over or they pull into the left lane. Our guys are really good about just sitting right behind them and move over. You know, I mean, come on. Ever since you were 16, the DMV has been telling you need to pull a right for emergency vehicles. And yet people still just stop right in the middle of the street.
Yeah, they just stop.
And ever since I started driving, I've heard it's like a cultural thing. Even some like some cultures like specifically, and I'll say this is what I've learned. I don't know if it's true. It's a rumor, I guess you could say, is the Asian cultures like in Asia, never been there, but they're just supposed to just stop, like just stop where you're at and don't move. And I don't know if that's true. Maybe if you know that to be true or false, let me know. But call to action. Like, do you think that the air horn is supposed to solicit movement or telling somebody to do something? That's just my opinion, because these guys that go blaring through these intersections when we have a way through and they're it makes people go like, well, shoot, I'm already out of the way. Like, what do you want me to do? And then they end up moving in our way. You know what I mean? Just because I feel like the air horn is telling them to do something. So anyway,
I think I would love to hear those comments, and then I would love to do a follow-up episode just on warning light, the future of warning lights, because I know, you look at old technology, rotorrays, Mars lights, LEDs, and those things still being put on new technology, how they're doing lighting, syncing. I can't tell you the number. And I know we got into this conversation about traffic control, but I've had wrecks that I've come up to where people were like, dude, you're wearing a vest and you have this one single red traffic wand that you're swinging like this. I can't see you, right? Like I can't see you in this sea of all this flashing red and yellow and headlights that are beaming into me. I just can't see you. And so I'm very interested to see about the design and how things are coming. And so I know we spent a lot of time talking to Sam specifically about his business and his history, but it would be really cool to bring him or one of his engineers on to talk about the future of warning lights and why we're doing it and the lessons we've learned from vehicle accidents, as well as scene safety. And, he talked about that in his keynote, was his mission is to make sure that firefighters go home and respond to scenes safely. So anyways, with that being said, a lot of those are because of that. That's what we started with, that unfortunately they don't get to go home. So for anyone we may have lost this week that we don't know about, or for anyone that has tragically lost their life in the past this week, whether it be from responding to a scene on a call, or even cardiac related after, or cancer, this moment of silence is for you. Well said.
Well said. Very well said.
Hey, you know what I got to thinking about? You were talking about just the comments and the stuff that we've done with the snail mail and all the interactions that we've had. Yeah, it got me thinking about just in general how people love to engage, sometimes both positive and negative. And so this week's show, for those who are wondering what we're going to talk about, we wanted to talk about specifically the follow-up to leadership versus followership and the engagement that we've been seeing. So a little bit of all those. And I chose not to engage on it. In fact, I even made a comment. I said, well, that's probably a conversation for another show. So I'll kind of start it off and then we'll discuss it. We talked about leaders, followers, and I wanted to add a third. There's influencers, right? So you have a manager. A lot of times you can pick up rank and become a manager. And then there's the leaders, And leaders and influencers are two different things. Leaders are the ones who create a positive influence in their organization. Influencers can be positive or negative, but they're still creating it, right? They're the ones who are over in the corner talking, well, this, this crummy place, it's just going downhill. Nothing's ever going to change, whatever. They're still influencing, not in a positive way. And so those three there truly make a difference. And if you take them out of the Firehouse and you put them online, those three still exist, right? Not so much in the managerial form, but definitely in the form of leaders and influencers. So a little bit more to that, Frank, this you so that we've had online. I don't know why I struggle with this name like I do. I think it's all mental, but it's all mental. It's super easy name, but I was coming across, I follow his socials, and he had a great FDIC clip where he talked about keyboard. What did he call them?
Commanders.
Keyboard commanders. And he really just talked about how people get engaged. And specifically, as he said, there's two things that will strike it up. Put your opinion online and wait. And I love that. I love that thought process because it's true. I mean, look at what we did with Tanya. We want to talk about cancer in the fire service, right? A firefighter will die of cancer. We will line the streets. And then once we give the opportunity to create change and we put a clip out there, oh my gosh, look what happened. Look what it did. But we chose to be positive, create leadership and change for a good way. And then there was folks who, by their own desire to influence, came and gave comment. But the positivity is winning. And I want you to kind of talk about that a little bit, Matt, because you have all the stats as the producer of our show. That is still winning, right? The positivity is still winning.
Well, outside of stats, I mean, just from what I've seen on social media, and we've talked about this before, and it's a good discussion. I have my theory as to why. My question is why is it so much easier to write something negative than it is to write something positive? And that goes outside of social media. That's our full culture, Brian. That's literally, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is that people they'd way rather write a negative review on a product, right? Let's say you've bought 10 different products over this year. You're more apt to write something negative about the one you didn't like than the 9 other ones that you did like and give a good review. Why is that? My theory is because we're around negativity all the time. So you turn on the news, for instance. I've called out the news since I was like an adult, since I was like 18. I was like, why every time you turn on the news, every piece of the news is negative? Someone got shot here. Someone got stabbed here. Stolen this. Broken into a business here. There's very, very little amount of positivity. I heard that, by the way. I think you're backwards. I think you're backwards.
I was.
And so that's my theory, is that we see so much negativity that people just like fall along with it or something. It just blows me away. But when it comes to social media, it's the same. People are way more apt to write a negative or, hey, this is, my thought, and it's always against your thought, right? It's never, it's not never. It's just a lot less of, hey, I agree with you.
If you're looking at a number scale, it's definitely lopsided for sure.
Right. Well, and what I think people do on social media is if they agree with you, they hit the like button. And if they disagree with you, they make a comment. And
I don't know that they even do that. We've talked about that on our channels, right? On our cooking channels. I'll have people who come up to me and they're like, hey, I saw your video. And it's all I can do to do an about face and be like, but you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the human in me who says, I wish you would take my side and show me that you like it, because that positivity and that engagement helps fuel it. I mean, let's talk about the two sides of this. If it's talking about the cooking content side, that helps monetary and algorithm. If you're talking about the podcast, that's why for our loyal listeners, it is so important for you to do just us that favor of liking it, because if you agree with what we're saying, it helps spread the positivity. It's just like being in a room full of people and saying all those in favor say aye, and you don't say aye. You don't agree. You just sit there. And so, I mean, it's very hard. It's very hard for the positivity and the change to occur when you sit there and you're neutral, even though you agree. That's the hard part. And I think what's happened is, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I do think this is the issue. We were talking about this recently with a bunch of my peers as chief officers, is we've created this sense of culture, especially in young folks, where we don't want them to take a stance for fear of retaliation, affiliation, and then retaliation on social media. So if they like a post, then they affiliate themselves with the department. Then there's all of a sudden the opportunity later on to say, well, you like this, and it's not part of our department's culture, values, and mission. So now, you're out. And so that sometimes they'll just watch it, they'll personally agree with it, and then they won't do anything with it at all. And I think that you have to ask yourself, what is it that's being said? What is the current climate that's being engaged, and then you can like it or not like it. I think that's the issue. But if somebody's coming in there and it's negative, and you're jumping on the negative bandwagon, that's probably not something you should like, especially if you're affiliated with your fire department on social media.
Well, if you got a chief or someone looking over your shoulder enough to where they're looking to see what you've liked on social media, I don't know. I think you got a little bit more of a problem. But and I understand where you're going, though. I'm just taking it to the next degree.
Well, yeah. It's the fear, right? It's the fear that's been created that it wasn't that started the look. Yep. It was looking for something when they didn't have anything. Yeah. Right. Like that's what it boils down to.
So Brian, let's bring this back to the Firehouse. All right. So yeah, we can sit here and talk about social media and what we deal with and on all the comments, but let's bring it back to the Firehouse a little bit. So you talked about Frank Viscuso's comment or about his video. And if anybody watches it, we'll put a link in the bio for this video. It's like a minute and a half. And he talks about, hey, let's stop criticizing our brothers and sisters on social media. And so the only thing I might be perceiving that comment a little bit different than what Frank wants me to, but I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because I do believe, and this bleeds into the Firehouse, isn't just online. I encourage you to have an opinion, whether it's in the Firehouse or on a podcast or on social media, whatever it is. Because if you have an opinion, you're making a stand on something. That's you. You're using your training, your education, and your life experience to come up to formulate this opinion about whatever it is, training, cancer awareness, whatever it is, right? I think have a stand, and it's okay. Let me just finish my thought real quick.
Yeah.
So it's okay to make a stand, but just understand that people are going to have a different opinion and they're going to come at you. And I think that's okay, Frank. And if I'm talking to Frank about his comment about don't criticize, I think that opinions and comments on social media can hold us accountable too, right? Because people, they have a differing opinion. That's okay. What I'm not okay with is the freaking name calling and the bullshit that people, like they were calling Tanya Karen. It's just like, it's so petty and so stupid. And without Doug being here and like that's what he spoke up the most about, right. Like, does your chief know you talk about people like this on social media? Like, that was the comment, and it blew up because, oh yeah, people, you're going to call our chief? Like, no, we never were going to call your chief. It's just, do they know that you speak like that about people on social media, let alone like, face to face? You would never. Right. So, but I think it's okay to make comments, that differing opinion comments, but it's like, hey, I see what you're saying, but what do you think about this? And a perfect example is what we'll talk about in a little bit when we do our snail mail. I have a comment that came through on TikTok, and it was a really good constructive comment about what we were talking about. We always talk about leadership. We always talk about leadership. Why don't we talk about followership? And he had a good comment to that. And so we'll bring that up in a little bit. But I think that making comments, again, I'll kind of come full circle, even in the Firehouse, know your role, know your place. But hey, if you have an opinion, like, don't be afraid to share it. But then don't also be afraid for people to come back at you and give their opinion. And then you have a good discussion, a good debate. And that's all I'm going to say.
And so what I was going to say, and I'm sorry I interrupted you. That's not okay. But what I want to make sure people understand that are listening is, if you don't listen to the clip, he specifically was talking about in context to a fire scene. So don't give feedback to a fire that you did not fight. Don't armchair quarterback or, second guess a decision on a fire scene that you were never at. And for that, I wholeheartedly agree. It's extremely hard to do. We've talked about it several times, right? Even in your own department, you're listening on the radio and you're doing a scene size up and you can't even see it, right? But you're doing it based off of what they're doing and the actions that they're having, what the hose that they're pulling or whatever. Like, why are they doing that? And you're already criticizing without even being there your own team, your own fire department. And it is ours by nature. I mean, think about it. We do a post-incident critique on all major incidents and we look for failures. So we're sitting here having this discussion, and by design, we are our own Karens. So, by design, because we're driven to be better. So it's that fine line to be able to articulate that. The other thing that I was going to say is, I think that, the key takeaway from what he was saying was, and kind of where we wanted to go with this, is that people have to learn today how to better communicate. I despise most days taking phone calls from some of my closest people. And I know that sounds bad, and I don't mean it ugly. I really don't. I jokingly made this comment to my sister, Lee. So Lee, you're probably going to listen to this. Mark a smart clip. She and I chatted on the way home from work. We talk on the phone. This is my sister, probably twice a year. And I hate that. We should talk way more than that. But in the craziness of life, with everything that I have going on, that's about how often we do it. We text probably every single day. We go back and forth, much like our podcast, right? But I talk to you, Matt, more on the phone than I do my own family. And that's not okay, but it's reality. And a lot of the times when you and I talk on the phone, it's because we have business to talk about on the podcast. So by the time I'm done, I don't want to talk to them, right? Mentally and physically, I am drained, I'm done, I'm fatigued. And so I have to save some of that energy for when I get home. And the reason why I bring that up, it's not to have a poor pity party for Brian. It's to say that we struggle right now with communication in an over-communicated world. So for the younger generation that's coming in, they live on their cell phones. I have two. I know people that have 3 phones. And so they spend the majority of their time texting back and forth. We talked about it as we came on. They struggle with how to type. I mean, when I was coming up, we were still learning how to write in cursive, and we've gone from cursive to print to typing. And now we're even typing wrong because we're using voice to text and we're not even looking. We're just hitting send. And so in a world that relies so much on communication, it is Frank the Tank. It is bad. And so much can get lost in that. And what really stinks about that is tone. We've talked about that on the podcast. Sometimes we get together and we record for an hour every week, and then we have to jump off to be present in our families. And we have to make time to sit there and communicate, because some of the most important things we do, we know we need to be able to look into the camera across the eye and say, Matt, here's what I'm trying to say. Because if I put this in a text message, that tone can be lost. And I think that that's the key thing. When we put our opinions out there for the whole world to know on social media about some of the most critical things that we're talking about, fireground tactics, cancer, divorce, affairs, alcoholism, all of these things that are changing the whole dynamics of the fire service, we're not doing it face to face like we should be. We're doing it across the world and in text that's hard to understand and hard to read. And more importantly, hard to interpret. And I think that that's that's some of the hardest takeaways for me, but some of the most critical as well.
Yeah. I like what you said about an over communicating world. Because, dude, and it's not just kids, right? You say kids, I see kids on their phones all day long, like we all are, right? But I think that you say that in the context of like we didn't have that as kids. I mean, you're a little bit older than I am, but I mean, I still didn't have a phone. I didn't have a smartphone until I was in my 20s, right? So a phone to us back when I was 16 was the Nokia 5110 with Snake 1 on it. You remember that?
Yeah.
You know, I got that when I was 16. I think my parents were like, okay, let's get him one because he's driving, you know, and I believe in that. But it was never internet. I remember one time, dude, I got this phone that it was like an AT&T phone or something. And it like flipped up and there was a keyboard. And I went into AT&T and I said, hey, I heard that I could put internet on this. Like, how do I? And he goes, what would you want to do that for? And I was like, oh, like I could check my emails or something, or I can go on Google and Google something. He's like, that sounds insane. Like, why would you want to do that? And then like, now look at us, right? We have literally a computer in our pocket. But
well, we lived for Friday nights of Yahoo Chat and Yahoo Pool, right? Like where you could go on and play Yahoo Pool and stuff. I mean, that's the way it was.
So before we hit record, just to fill kind of everybody in on how this discussion kind of got brought up was, Brian wanted to bring up the followership versus leadership, and then he wanted to bring up the influencer, which was great. And I was kind of leaning towards talking about, new people. I guess I could say kids because they're typically young, the younger generation that are coming up through the fire service. And we had this discussion at the dinner table the other day at work, and we're like, what is it that makes these kids? So we have kids at our dinner table because we hire really young guys for our ambulance operator program, and they just sit there and they're just like so awkward. But I asked the guys, I said, were the old guys, let's just say the old guys, were the old guys thinking the same thing about me? Maybe, like, you know how it's like generational, like, oh, this is the worst generation ever. I feel like, older people always say that about the younger generation because it's different than, how they grew up and all that. And so our question was like, why do they have to act so weird? Like, but I feel like we're kind of breeding that. I mean, we kind of tailor how they act because they're just trying to do what's right, in my opinion,
Well, but don't you think we were just different? We were the same, but different. So I know when I came up, those guys, like I said before in the podcast, they were sitting there talking about their retirement and, all these other things. But at the same time, I remember them sitting there talking about old stories of going to fires and, things that they did on the weekends and going away with family. And then I look today as I walk in the stations and I have dinner with the crews, it's the same. It may be a little different, but it is the same. And that's why I've said it several times on this podcast is what we owe it to this upcoming generation, those 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, is to engage them and get them off of the phone, because the difference with it was back then you paid for the minute that you were on the internet and you were so young you couldn't afford it. So you kept your phone down. And it was also an era where it wasn't tolerated. I mean, we weren't allowed to have our phone out. So it wasn't an accepted culture. So, go get the Phase 10, go get the Uno, go get the cards. You put your phone down, you create a sense of community, you owe it. And that's where I kind of want to go back to the leader, the follower. You can influence them, but you're influencing them to create a culture in that firehouse of no communication at the dinner table when you're over there checking your Snapchat and so are they. And you're not building a relationship. I mean, you talked about it in our class, and I thought it was really important is like how your department gets bids and how, you're one of the youngest but most sought after captains because of the culture that you've created. And I guarantee you it's not because you sit there on your phone all day. It's because you engage with your crews. And I think that more people can do that, and it doesn't take bars on your collar to do that. And that's what I was saying is that that's a manager. A manager can go in and say, hey, we're going to do hydrants. And on the whole way there, he's over there looking at the phone and he's swiping left or right on an app with a T, and he's over there checking his department email and he's doing other things. But the one that engages is the guy who's amped up, listening to the music. He's checking to look for pedestrians to help the driver out. He's asking the crew in the back how they're coming along on their research on different things. I mean, that's the culture that I grew up in. And I think that I don't want to see it lost, and I'm not in it, but I don't want to see that lost, because I think that when you talk about retention, that you cannot put in the form of a paycheck that comes into your inbox or into your bank account every 2 weeks.
Very well said. I love everything you just said, like in the last 3 minutes. I thought that was really good. And I was sitting here trying to think of like, how can I add, how can I, with the people that are listening, especially the younger generation that listen to our podcast, like what's one piece of advice? Because I sat here and I said that we sat at the dinner table thinking that these young kids are weird, right? And I would say, don't try to fit in with us. Don't try to fit in with us. And that sounds really, really bad. But what I'll say too is just be excited to be at work and learn something new. There's so much to learn. Like that's what I tell, early day probationary firefighters is like, all right, strap in whatever your name is, because here we go. And I'm here to help you every single part of the way. If you fail, I mean, it's definitely partially on me, right? Because I didn't prepare you well enough. But I need 110% effort from you. You know what I mean? And there's a lot to learn. And so what I would say is just be passionate about coming to work, show that. And that is more than half your battle as to how you're going to win over the old guys, if you will, the guys that have been on at least for a few years. Right. And it's not just coming in and like with your tail between your legs and playing the coyote. That's not enough, in my opinion. Like if just because you kept your mouth shut during dinner didn't really, you didn't win any points for me. But were you smiling, like engaging, asking questions about maybe things that have gone wrong on a call or whatever. That's your win right there, in my opinion. So. But it's like, well, why? Like, why is it not like that? And I asked myself as the captain of the station, like, I don't want to breed this culture of having these kids come in with their tail between their legs, feeling like they can't say anything, or it's like, well, I haven't done anything right today, and it's like, we've gone down a little bit of a road at work. And it's really weird. It's a really weird feeling that these, I'm like, God, what, something needs to just click, something needs to click. I don't know. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to incorporate these guys in a different manner or get them excited, and I try to tell them, like, smile, like, do you want to be here? Like, if you don't, we'll bring somebody in that does,
Right.
But try to bring that atmosphere for them. And if they take it, great. If not, like, move it along, Jackson. Yeah. There's other people that want that job. So I don't know.
I go back to my captain who, when I was goofing off, I've told the story before. I was goofing off and he brought me in and he told me the story. He's like, there's guys slinging bricks and mortar down the road, making $7 an hour who would much rather, this is 20 some years ago, $7 an hour who would much rather have your job. And I was like, I really need to rethink the way that I have the outlook on this job. Like, I took it for granted. It's like, oh, I'm here and I'm enjoying it, but it's so much bigger than that. And I think that that's what's important. And like you said, I mean, when you come in the door, every day is your job interview, how you sit there and how you engage, because like you just said, I mean, when you get someone who is not positive, is not engaging, what happens when the phone rings and they say, Captain Matt, what was Jackson like? Well, he was not positive. I mean, yeah, he did his job, but like, I don't know that I'd want him back. Well, then I don't think I want him, those kinds of mentalities. And so I think it's important, and just communicating, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Those basic fundamentals of respect. And we live in this world where it's like respect is earned, not given. And that's true in so many ways. But I think it also goes to the fact that, if we all achieve for that, then earning it would be a whole lot easier for everybody. And I think that's the difference. So anyways, right at 40 minutes, we probably ought to do some snail mail. That was a good place probably to stop.
Perfect. So let's do some snail mail.
It's snail mail time.
All right. So this snail mail TikTok comment is a good segue. I don't know if we've said that word.
You're welcome,
today.
Doug.
So
I did not on purpose.
we had a comment on TikTok regarding my comment about why, and we brought this up at the beginning of this podcast. So here's the follow-up. Why are we always talking about followership or leadership when we should be talking about followership? So he goes one step further, doesn't have his name. He just has HMC. So I'll shoot a shout out to HMC. And he says, maybe a different look to this is not talk about a good follower, but talk about being a good informal leader. And he gives a short, little synopsis, is what he's saying. Following should be left at the probie level. One of the biggest things that needs to be talked about more in the fire service is taking initiative. And then he put in quotations, informal leader. So I was like, what do you think?
I was going to say MHC. I will agree, and HMC. I will agree and disagree. As a deputy chief of a fire department, I still need to be influenced. I still need to be humble. The other day, I went out to a captain, and he and I was talking. He said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "I already know what you're going to ask." And da 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 da. And he's like,
"Jeez."
He was like, "Yeah." But I had been so wound up, kind of the way you started the episode. It had been just a week, and he was like, I said, "You're going to ask him about yada, yada, yada." And he was like, "Actually, no, I wasn't going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you about this." And I was like, "I owe you an apology." And so I need to be influenced to be calm and humble like that captain was when he asked me a question. And so I won't disagree with that. Again, it goes back to the number scale. I would agree that most probies need to be influenced. And it goes back to what I said very early on in the show. I think that folks can be influenced in a positive or negative way. And, but I also believe that a negative lieutenant can be positively influenced by a rookie firefighter. That same rookie can go to that negative lieutenant and instill in him or her that they are, looked up to, and how they act, creates change, good or bad. And so sometimes they need to hear it from more than just their captain. They need to hear it from those that are below them.
Yeah. And a lot of it, again, I'll bring it right back to a lot of it is just having a good attitude. You know what I mean? That the glass is half full. I always try to live by that while I'm at work, while I'm at home. When I'm at home, it's, my family life, but at work, it's like glass is half full. It's contagious, in my opinion. And so that you can't really, you can go wrong, but I think it's over 50%. That's over half of what you're dealing with. If you go to work with a really smart dude that's got a bad attitude, it's just weighs on everybody, Yeah. But as far as what HMC is saying, I get it, and I've never been a big, when we talk about leadership, there's all the different types of leadership, servant leadership, laissez-faire, all this stuff. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm more I'm Matt Rolfe. I'm Matt Rolfe style leadership. You know what I mean? I'm a
smoothie of them all.
Yeah. You can take, not necessarily. Right. You go back to what Patrick Lencioni. There's 6, geniuses. Yeah. So I definitely don't fall into some of those types of leaderships. But if you want to call it, call it what you will, but you want to call it an informal leader, That's fine. That's fine. It's not typical. It's not just necessarily a follower, just someone that's just following. I can get to that. I understand what he's trying to say. Okay. Another one would be a fun little social FD. He says Doug is getting better with his Trump impersonation.
Great show, by the way, Beyond the Nozzle. I listened to that one with Adam on it. Adam talked more in that episode than he has in all 122 episodes of the Cool Fireman podcast. So, Social FD, cheers to you. Yeah. I have done episodes with just me and Unky, but I know it's me talking too much. But great episode. Go check him out. Social FD. His YouTube or his podcast is called the Beyond the Nozzle, and he did have Adam on it. So go listen to that episode.
Yeah. And then the last one I have here is from Simon Gray. So remind me, or maybe you don't remember, did we do I think we had a snail mail with Simon before or something about the Brunswick.
Yes, we did.
I think so, right? So this is kind of a follow-up to that. So Simon, a day ago, he wrote, "Okay, Doug, how about this? I'll send you some stew and we'll do," it says I don't know what he said, something it again. It'll probably be next year around February. So obviously we know that's what FDIC, right? But I'll send it to you so that way we can see how good it is. So he said it's also our old Chiefs recipe. So I don't have it, but it's always a big hit and everybody around the community always asks when we're doing it. All that to say, I don't have the recipe, but I'll do my best to get you some of it. So he's talking about the Brunswick stew.
Oh yeah. And Doug, that's fighting words for Doug. So there's that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the snail mail. I don't think, oh my gosh, I'm trying to keep track of all this stuff. But I think.
Thank you guys. I'll say this while you're looking. Yeah. Just thank you guys for engaging. And again, if you're not subscribed, please go subscribe across all of our socials. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. One of the best things you can do is go engage on YouTube just by following us on that. I know a lot of folks listen to us on Spotify or whatever their podcast platform is, but just simply going and liking our YouTube helps boost that algorithm. We'll have I won't say a lot. We have some listeners who every week they'll just listen to it on their YouTube. They'll put it on in their living room while they're working, or maybe they're working on schoolwork or whatever. But YouTube is probably one of the platforms that can help us the most, in addition to Spotify, just from a monetization standpoint, which helps our dollars go further. So, okay. Thank you for that.
Last thing I'll say is thanks to Kenny Mitchell with Operation Yellow Tape. If you guys aren't following Kenny, if you're still with us on this podcast, you're one of our regulars probably. And if you're not, you're new, welcome. But go check out Kenny Mitchell. He's doing great things, with mental health awareness, and he's going all around the country talking. He's got a huge following now for a reason, because he's just the absolute best. But he's one of our biggest supporters and puts our clips on his social media. And I just want to say thank you to Kenny. We've been talking to him a little bit more recently via text. And I always try to shout out to him. He loves the voice message. So sometimes when I'm feeling juicy, I'll get on and get a nice little audio message for Kenny, just let him know that I'm thinking about him. And so today, right now, this moment, I know he's listening because he's listened to every single one of our podcasts. And I know for a fact, as soon as he listens to this, which is usually on Friday when it drops, we'll get a text message saying, "Hey, thanks boys for the shout out." And it's, oh man, Kenny,
about 9:30 a.m. we'll get a text.
Yes.
Great episode, boys. Keep it up.
Yep. So we really appreciate you and all your kind words and your support. So anyways, that's all I've got, my friend. That
episode 122 in the books.
Yeah, very good. Well,
roll it, GG.
Roll it, GG.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!